Real Madrid Ader Militao tears ACL and needs surgery. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share. Madrid, AP. Just over a year since tearing an anterior cruciate ligament in his left leg, Real Madrid defender Eder Militao ruptured the ACL in his right leg when he crumbled amid screams at Santiago Bernabéu Stadium on Saturday. The 26-year-old Brazil center-back pulled his jersey over his face as medics carried him off in the first half of the 4-0 win over Osasuna in La Liga. The club said he will need surgery. Militao missed most of last season after he tore his left ACL in the season opener. He returned in March and helped the team win the Champions League and Spanish League. The defender has helped Madrid win 2 European Cups and 3 La Ligas, among other trophies. He anchors the center of the backline with Antonio Rüdiger. Coach Carlo Ancelotti replaced Militao by giving a debut to youth player Raúl Asensio. Madrid and Brazil forward Rodrigo was also injured before Militao went down. He went to the bench and had ice applied to his left leg. Right back Lucas Vázquez was also substituted at halftime after he was clearly hampered by a leg issue. This is the second ACL injury to Madrid's squad this campaign after Spain right back Dani Carvajal ripped up his right leg last month. Goalkeeper Courtois Thibaut, David Alaba and Aurélien Tchouaméni were also unavailable with their own injuries. Last season, besides Militao, Madrid also lost Courtois and Alaba to ACL injuries. Real Madrid's Ader Militao out for 2024-25 season with torn ACL. Real Madrid announced Eder Militao suffered a complete tear of his anterior cruciate ligament in his right knee against Osasuna. Militao also suffered damage to both meniscuses in his right leg. The Brazilian will undergo surgery in the coming days. Militao was substituted in the 30th minute of Real Madrid's La Liga game against Osasuna on Saturday, having to be stretchered off. He was replaced by Castilla graduate Raúl Asensio. It's a crushing blow to Real Madrid's defense, which already is without Dani.
Alex, for once, 45 minutes in which Real Madrid fans will be happy, apart from, of course, the injuries.
Yeah, I would say the mood changed radically over the course of that first half, Dan, because with those two injuries, it was quite bleak, especially the Militao one. The Rodrigo one, of course, was bad. He's only just back from injury. But Militao, given how short the team are in defence and given how, look, we don't know yet, we don't have confirmation, but it looked serious. It sounded serious. You could see how much pain Militao was in when he went down, being stretchered off. It wasn't looking good, so thank goodness, from a Real Madrid point of view, they got those 2 goals, 2 really good goals as well. And you mentioned the one from Bellingham, just how significant that is. We know he hadn't scored so far this season. He hadn't scored for his club since May. And this was kind of old-school Bellingham, last season Bellingham, wasn't it? The kind of run that he made, running from deep through the middle. The kind of runs we saw him make time and time again last season because there wasn't a centre-forward there, and he was having to fill that role. And he finished, he didn't look like a player who hadn't scored this season with the confidence of that finish. So yeah, the mood much improved after those 2 goals than beforehand. Look, it's good news in terms of the scoreline, it's good news in terms of the performance, but the injuries are a worry. And I mentioned Militao, the fact they're short in defence already. David Alaba isn't fully fit yet. They've been trying to make do this season at centre-back, having chosen not to replace Nacho in the summer, and they can't afford to have Militao out for a long time, as he was last season, as you guys mentioned.
Dani Carvajal and David Alaba. This is Militao's second torn ACL in as many seasons for Real Madrid. The first injury in his left knee occurred against Athletic Bilbao in August 2023. Militao wasn't the only player substituted through injury against Osasuna. Both Rodrigo and Lucas Vázquez also came off injured. Carlo Ancelotti rallies Real Madrid to reach January with injury burden. Carlo Ancelotti has called on his Real Madrid players to rally until the January transfer market. Los Blancos will be without some key names in the coming weeks as an injury crisis deepens in the Spanish capital. Brazil international Ader Militao has seen his season ended after suffering a second anterior cruciate ligament tear in 15 months. Ancelotti's numbers in defense are further impacted with first-choice right-back Dani Carvajal already ruled out for the remainder of the season, with David Alaba not expected back until at least the start of 2025. The latest setback with Militao could force Ancelotti into a rare January transfer rate to ease the burden on Carlo Ancelotti. However, the veteran Italian coach called on his players to dig in, ahead of the remaining 8 games before the winter break at the end of 2024. There's nothing to be done now, we will evaluate in the coming months. I'm not thinking about the market, because until the Christmas break, we have to go with what we have, as per quotes from Marca. Los Blancos have 6 league games before the final match of 2024, on December 22, and 2 in the UEFA Champions League, including a trip to Liverpool after the November international break. Ader Militao shows the true cost of Mbappé's Real Madrid move. Robin Berner. Kylian Mbappé, Ader Militao, Real Madrid, 2024-25. Real Madrid's decision to sign Kylian Mbappé in the summer continues to look worse with almost each passing day, with a serious injury to Ader Militao raising further questions over the transfer policy of President Florentino Perez. Mbappé might have arrived on a free transfer, but he very certainly did not come cheap. He received a massive signing on bonus while his wages are said to have eaten up the savings made when Nacho Fernandez, Toni Kroos and Joselu departed in the summer. Indeed, it was the lavish investment in Mbappé that prevented the club from signing additional cover at centre-back, despite knowing David Alaba was in the midst of rehabilitation after a long-term injury and that they were already going to be a player down due to Nacho's departure. Madrid felt they could use their gravitas to secure Lenny Yoro on a free transfer next summer, but Manchester United swept in to sign the promising young Frenchman, who would not have arrived in time as cover in any case. They are set to pay a high price for this attitude. Rudiger the only fit option. Now Ader is out for the rest of the season with an ACL injury, adding to a long-term injury to right-back Dani Carvajal. Carlo Ancelotti's side have only one fit senior centre-back in the form of Antonio Rudiger. Alaba could be back by the end of the month, yet after a long absence the risk of the Austrian picking up more niggles is very real, while he cannot be expected to cope with the rigors of the busy schedule the Bernabeu club face. Ader Militao is out for the rest of the season. All this, of course, raises questions about Madrid going all in on Mbappé, a player it seems that they didn't even necessarily felt they needed given their repeated insistence that Vinicius Jr. is the best player in the world and should have won the Ballon d'Or. As if to emphasize this point, Vini scored a hat-trick against Osasuna in La Liga on Saturday while Mbappé offered little by comparison. In the meantime, Real Madrid face 7 tricky weeks until the January transfer window opens, during which they will be forced to muddle by with Rudiger and a makeshift option, potentially Aurélien Tchouaméni, who played the role on occasion last term. It's not an ideal solution, particularly since Ancelotti's side are under pressure both in La Liga, in which they trail Barcelona, and the Champions League. This is the true cost of the decision to sign Mbappé, which is a deal that looks increasingly regrettable. Real Madrid forward Vinicius Jr. scored a hat-trick to help the La Liga champions snap a 2-game winless run in all competitions with a commanding 4-0 victory over Osasuna on Saturday. The Brazil international opened the scoring in the 34th minute after taking a Jude Bellingham pass in his stride to beat the offside trap and firing an unstoppable strike past goalkeeper Sergio Herrera. Bellingham recovered his scoring instinct by netting his first goal of the season with a brilliant finish 8 minutes later, lobbing the ball over the goalkeeper to extend Real's lead. Vinicius wrapped up the home side's win with strikes in the 61st and 69th minutes, helping second-placed Madrid climb to 27 points, 6 behind leaders Barcelona. Osasuna are 5th on 21 points. Madrid's day was blemished by the injuries to Eder Militao and Rodrigo, both of whom went off in the first half. Lucas Vázquez too was replaced at half-time with an apparent knock to compound Madrid's injury woes. Real Madrid suffers double 7-minute injury blow against Osasuna. Real Madrid lost 2 first-team stars to what appear to be serious injuries, over a frantic 7-minute period in the first half of its La Liga clash with Osasuna on Saturday. After the interval, captain Lucas Vázquez was also brought off to make it 3 injuries in the first half for Los Blancos. The defending champions went into a home fixture at the Bernabeu already crestfallen thanks to back-to-back defeats in the same ground. Thrashed by bitter rivals FC Barcelona 4-0 in El Clasico, Carlo Ancelotti's men lost 3-1 to his former club AC Milan in the Champions League on Tuesday to usher in talks of a crisis in the white half of the Spanish capital. Ancelotti made 3 changes to the side involved in the latter hiccup, with Rodrigo being granted a start and chance to impress in attack. With just 20 minutes down on the clock, however, the Brazilian threw himself to the ground touching his left leg. He managed to walk off the pitch without needing help, but was emotional on the bench while being consoled by teammates as Brahim Diaz replaced him. 7 minutes later, worse was in store for defender Ader Militao, who had to be stretchered off in tears on the half-hour mark. His replacement Raúl Asensio provided an assist for Jude Bellingham as Madrid went 2-0 up after Vinicius Jr.'s opener, and Ancelotti's men therefore went down the tunnel at the interval with such a lead ahead of sealing a 4-0 win overall. Yet the injuries are particularly worrying for Madrid at a time when the first team is short-staffed. The extent of the knocks will probably be confirmed on Sunday once the club's medical services have carried out tests on the players in question. According to Relevo, though, citing anonymous sources, Madrid fears that Militao has once more torn his cruciate ligament. If Militao is out for a considerable amount of time as that kind of setback warrants, Ancelotti is left with just one senior natural center-back in Toni Rüdiger as David Alaba is still yet to return. Aurélien Tchouaméni, who often stepped in on the back line with Rüdiger when Alaba and Militao both fell to ACL knocks last season, is similarly out injured for at least a month, and all this might force Madrid to head to the transfer market in January. On the front line, Brahim and Arda Güler, or even Endrick, might be afforded opportunities that have been scarce as of late in the cases of the latter-mentioned teenagers. If Vázquez joins the sick list, Madrid is seriously short of options at right back given that first-choice Dani Carvajal